You're not always going to like yourself, but you should always love yourself. Let's talk about it. What's up, y'all? My name is Elliot. I'm a mindset coach. I talk candidly about my journey, as well as share tips to encourage growth and healing and uplift anyone who may struggle with feeling seen. So, I'm going to keep it a buck with y'all. There's not a single person on this planet that I like all the time, including myself. I kind of feel like that's impossible. So I don't like to chase my tail, trying to make that a thing all the time. And then when you really even break that down, humans are very layered beings, layered individuals. We have a lot of angles to us. So you can even drill it down a bit more and understand or appreciate that I might like parts of people or parts of myself at points and not like parts of them or parts of myself at different points. And that's all fine and dandy. I feel like that's a pretty natural flow of things. Sometimes somebody or you may do something that you're just like, I don't really jive with that. Sometimes you may just wake up and I don't know, someone else's existence just annoys you. It's all cool. It's just what you do with it. But within that, the challenge that can arise is that when we maybe don't like ourselves or don't like parts of ourselves that we may be very attached to or otherwise just really want to like, it can become difficult to actively practice love for ourselves. And it can be very easy to just say, hey, I feel like I don't know, let myself down or I let the team down or I fumbled the ball here and I'm struggling to like myself. So I'm not still going to pour into myself and uplift myself and treat myself like I love, appreciate, and care about myself. And that can become a pretty slippery slope really quickly if left unchecked. And to really get into the some of the implications of that slippery slope, I think it's important to just kind of put out there that shame and guilt are two things that play a big role in how we treat ourselves in moments where maybe disappointment or negative emotions may be swirling. And I'm gonna keep it real simple. Shame basically says I am bad for existing, whereas guilt will basically say I did a bad thing, and that can in and of itself lead to shame. They tend to operate pretty closely, but they are distinctly different. And when those two get to swirling around, again, you're first going to notice that maybe you don't like something, but if left unchecked, it can very easily turn into self deprecation to the point of actually self harming yourself, actively or passively. So, that negative self talk that can then kind of start to swirl around as a result of maybe negative experiences or moments when disappointment did arise or you just otherwise felt like you didn't reach or achieve something you wanted, that can reinforce things that you don't like about yourself. And something today or something that happened yesterday can all of a sudden come back up today because of something that or a moment today where I felt like I dropped the ball. And it's important to unlink those aspects or those moments to honor them fully. Don't get me wrong, they happen. But yesterday's slip up or experience can't necessarily mount onto today in that way. That's just going to make it very hard to practice that self love and actually find ways to like yourself again and come out of that moment. So, as always, I want to share a bit about my experiences with this topic. And for me, really balancing liking and loving myself in moments has been a challenge, especially in moments when I felt disappointment toward myself, or even where it may have been expressed to me, or I otherwise just looked around and didn't really like what I saw in my life. And I was just like, what am I doing? And what I would notice is I would actually punish myself for my lack of progress, by one, I was comparing my journey to others, which that's a whole thing in and of itself. But I would punish myself when I saw a lack of progress or felt like I saw a lack of progress within myself or felt disappointment. And how I would do that would be primarily by doubling down on the very same bad habits that were keeping me stuck and keeping me emotionally not in the best spaces and mentally not in the best spaces and even physically not in the best spaces. I would do those things, which would then reinforce the very same negative thoughts that I had about myself in the first place. And at points that would lead me to me just giving up, just saying, screw it, forget it, I'm a failure, this, that, and the third. And that turned into this very hard to navigate and hard to navigate cycles of ups and downs. And I knew I was punishing myself, but it took quite a bit of work to really figure out how to just not automatically do that when I didn't like myself, and not just remind myself of all the ways I wasn't good to myself, but to learn to counter those moments with acts of self-love and acts of self-care and opportunities to like myself and things about myself that I found to be positive, regardless of what the circumstance may have been. So, with that said, I want to share a few tips that have helped me in hopes that they will help you on your journey. First, it's critical to practice self care regardless of what's going on and regardless of how small the act of self care itself is. Some days self care is I got out of bed today and I washed my face, and that's all I got. And that's cool if that's where you at. If you can do that, that in and of itself is a triumph because you chose to pour into you and take care of your skin, stay on your routine, whatever that may look like for you. You chose you and you chose to do something productive, healthy, and constructive for yourself. That's important. It's also equally important to then celebrate those moments, whether it be the acts of self-care, whether it be identifying small bits of progress, or you're like, hey, maybe today I only had one cup of coffee when usually in a situation like this I may have three. I don't know, whatever that looks like for you. I don't drink coffee, so I'm not even sure if that lands, but that's the first thing that came to my mind. So I said it. And after in addition to those things, I guess in conjunction with those things, it's also important to examine what you don't even like about yourself in the first place, to really pick apart what you're saying to yourself and how you're feeling about yourself, because then that can lead you down a very, very vast and rich journey of figuring out, well, why do you even feel this way about yourself? Why do I even feel this way about myself? And what is the impact of these things that I don't like? If it's something that has a truly negative or harmful impact to you or somebody else, maybe something to address. If it's really not having an impact on your quality of life or that of people around you, maybe it's just something to learn to live with and learn to get past. I don't know. Only you can tell what that looks like in your life. But regardless of what that looks like, it's important to practice self acceptance and practice grace towards yourself through all of this, because you're going to see things that you don't like about yourself. I see things about myself that I don't like all the time. And I'm just like, okay, well, cool, that's there. We'll work it out. And, seeing yourself as a complex human within all of that really allows you and your brain to say, hey, this is this, but this isn't all of me. Right. And it's important to just appreciate what has been and learn to move forward. You can't change the past. You can only figure out how to build a better, more constructive future within all of that. So I hope something I've shared here does help you on your journey. And as always, I want to leave you with one reflective question. And today's question is, what does unconditional love for yourself look like in all moments? And how can you practice that more consistently? Think about it.